Toronto Raptors are a team that have been scouting Bronny James at multiple points over the course of this season. It's been reported by Shams, it's been reported by different sort of NBA reporters and analysts that there was definitely some interest by the Toronto Raptors in a Bronny James. But coming in by the end of the season, it felt like the Toronto Raptors, where their picks were going to be placed, just didn't really fit where Bronny James could potentially end up getting drafted. But things are changing in a big way following the NBA draft combine in regards to Bronny James. And now maybe this is media hype, but it seems like there's a legitimate possibility Bronny James could go right in the range of where the Toronto Raptors are selecting. And given the previous interest by the Toronto Raptors, there's a legitimate possibility, particularly at pick number 31, Bronny James could end up being a Toronto Raptor. So we're going to discuss that, including a major update to Team Canada's roster as we inch closer to the Paris Olympics. But folks, you guys have been crushing it, hitting the like button lately. We figured out it really helps the videos big time, so it means the world to me if you guys could hit that like button if you're enjoying all the daily Toronto Raptors coverage. But let's dive into the first topic of discussion. The first thing we're taking a look at is Bronny James potentially becoming a Toronto Raptor with that 31st overall selection. So if you're not familiar, the Raptors are drafting number 19 as well as number 31 in this year's NBA draft. And Bronny James is a guy that was projected to be undrafted. I mean, you look at his stats, he's not a dude that was really, projected to go high in the NBA sort of draft. Like the guy, average under 5 points per game, for USC, and his height actually is shorter than the 6'4" he was listed at in college, apparently 6'1", 6'2", according to NBA Draft Combine measurements. His efficiency, not great, 36% from the field, 26% from the three-point line, 67% from the free throw, but there has been some excitement about his potential development, his fit in the NBA as an elite defender as well as passer. He has 2 NBA-ready skills at that point, but obviously has a lot of work to do on becoming a more well-rounded player in terms of scoring, finishing in the lane in particular, and just really being able to create his own shot, which all guards really need to do to blossom in the NBA. So, Bronny James, is he the prime prospect like his dad? Not even close. But apparently in recent weeks, he's been shooting up the draft boards. Basically, latest reports have essentially come out saying that Bronny James has jumped from 98th to number 54 in ESPN's mock draft after his NBA draft combine performance. So that's one mock draft, actually having him into the second round rather than in a 100th sort of section. So that is a massive, massive leap, overtaking 50 players because of the sort of mock draft status. But again, as I've said on pretty well any draft video this year, the projections are almost impossible to sort of put together on where players are going to actually land because, even with Bronny James here now at this point, we're hearing a lot of different reports. Basically, we've also got wind that the Utah Jazz are bringing Bronny James in for a pre-draft workout and are interested in selecting him with the 32nd overall pick in this year's NBA draft. So, I said it at the beginning of this video. The Toronto Raptors have number pick 31. And there's a team at number 32 interested in selecting him. And the Toronto Raptors have already been scouting this guy, have had their eye on Bronny James over the course of this entire season. And now there's a team at number 32 that's interested in selecting Bronny James with that pick, which is fairly interesting. And then to make things crazier, because again, he went from a guy that's completely undrafted, 4 point per game dude, why on earth are we even talking about this guy, to ESPN putting him in the second round, to a team being able to come up here, and now look at the other sort of news that's coming out. Basically, Bronny James led his team in scoring the draft combine, playing well, having a solid game, all those types of things. And multiple NBA executives have discussed drafting Bronny James in the first round in an effort to lure his father to the team to their team in free agency. So, again, regardless of actual skill, actual sort of ability or whatnot with that report, Bronny James potentially could get selected in the first round. This is something that I think wasn't really a lot of discourse. There wasn't really a lot of conversations about, even a couple of weeks ago, about him legitimately being a potential first round draft selection. Teams having proper interest. The Utah Jazz, a team selecting one pick after the Toronto Raptors, potentially being public about selecting him out there in the draft. The Dallas Mavericks have been publicly interested. The LA Lakers have been publicly interested. There is a legitimate possibility. This isn't a meme here now at this point anymore. Bronny James is definitely getting drafted in this year. I think that's a safe bet. That's a safe expectation, especially at number 55. I think the Lakers probably gave him a guarantee, at that sort of number, that second round selection. I believe they had the 55th overall pick. So, he could potentially land there. So, Bronny James, with all the reports, and it's tough to pinpoint the lottery in this year's NBA draft. So second round picks, late round draft picks, it's almost impossible to tell, but there are reports sort of placing Bronny James at the selection of where the Toronto Raptors are landing, and frankly, I think it's a major risk. I think that's a wild possibility, but even the chance of landing LeBron James for a year or two would just be sort of an insane story, bringing him to Toronto. It's a late round pick. Again, there are some potential, actual high upside guys, and maybe Bronny could develop into one of those dudes. It's an elite defender. He has the basketball genetics for sure, his dad being LeBron James and all of that, but basically, I don't know. Would I be here for it? Yes. If we selected Bronny James, I'd be up for the memes. It would be crazy for content. It would just be an insane story. But, again, is it probably the best draft pick skill-wise when you have guys like Khalil Ware, who I'm going to break a video down on? You have record probably today at this point. So, probably not. But, if he's shooting up, if his stock is rising from where it was, and against actual NBA level competition, with the draft combine, playing against other NBA ready prospects, I mean, I'm here for it. If he develops, he's an elite guard. He has, in terms of defense, as well as passing ability. So those are two NBA-ready skills we know from Bronny James. If you can get the rest of it going, especially with all the support, he's going to have with his dad be LeBron James. YOLO. Give it a go, beside. But the next thing we're taking a look at is a major Team Canada updates. We got a couple major updates regarding Team Canada. Obviously, the Paris Olympics, the Team Canada has qualified for, and we have some exciting news because this is a team that has a legitimate possibility to make a deep run in the Olympics. I mean, in theory, we have the second most talented roster. We have a lot of NBA guys, same with the second most NBA players. I'm not sure if France has overtaken us here now at this point, but basically, I'm going to keep saying the Toronto Raptors. Team Canada is a dark horse team to win the basketball Olympics this year, but basically, news has come out that essentially Jamal Murray says he will represent Canada in the Olympics this summer after getting knocked out in that crazy series that the Denver Nuggets just had against the Minnesota Timberwolves. So, again, sucks to see a Canadian get knocked out in the playoffs, but if that helps his chances of playing in the Olympics, joining Team Canada, I think he would have anyways. Very, very good news for Team Canada having, it's not an all-star, but all-star caliber player, Jamal Murray. I mean, look at his stats. The guy averaged 21 points per game, 6.5 assists this season, 4 rebounds. Didn't have the craziest sort of playoff run, but shot 42% from the three-point line, but dealt with some injuries and things like that. Won a championship last year. Jamal Murray on this Team Canada team is going to be huge. And then we also got some news that basically Andrew Nembhard as well as Shaedon Sharpe are both reportedly eyeing Team Canada sports this summer, and Nembhard confirmed getting an invite. So, two young prospects that weren't a part of that 3-year group because obviously they were very young, still more raw prospects at that point, but two legitimate NBA rotation players, athletes on the wing for Team Canada, could be major, major assets for this team going into the Olympics this summer. I'm pumped to cover some Olympic action, to watch some of these games, but I don't know. Team Canada, it's nice to have the star players playing, into that group. So we'll keep you updated on how the roster ends up shaping into form this summer. But folks, you guys are the best to make this far. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Lots of Toronto Raptors news coming. So, and Team Canada news, I guess. I'm signing out. Cheers.